What's up, everybody, and welcome back to Fireside Giants. I'm your host, Anthony Rivardo, and today I'm hitting you guys with the 2-for-1 special. I'm previewing the Giants versus Packers Week 11 game while also discussing a potential head coaching candidate for the New York Giants to consider, and that is defensive coordinator of the Green Bay Packers, Jeff Hafley. The Giants will be going up against his defense on Sunday, and while Hafley is preparing to beat the Giants, he is also, in a roundabout way, auditioning to the New York Giants. Hafley is one of the top names for head coaching jobs this offseason. He's a hot candidate. He is a coordinator. I know some Giants fans want a proven former head coach, but there is a catch here. Jeff Hafley was a collegiate head coach before coming back to the NFL. And we're going to dive into his career history, discuss all of that, and consider whether or not he's a good fit for the New York Giants. But before we do, guys, make sure to leave a like if you enjoy. It really helps the channel so much. And also subscribe. A lot of you might be watching this thinking you're subscribed, but you're not. So double check and definitely do subscribe if you aren't. But let's talk about the game on Sunday first and foremost before we talk specifically about Jeff Hafley. I'm going to give you guys the injury updates here because the Giants did rule out a whole bunch of players for this weekend's game, of course, including Jackson Dart, who's still in concussion protocol. Defensive lineman Chauncey Golston's been dealing with a neck injury. He's been out a while. He is also out. Kayvon Thibodeaux, this is a surprising name. I didn't even realize that he was injured, but he did not practice all week with a shoulder injury. He was ruled out for Sunday's game. So was Darius Slayton, who's been dealing with a hamstring injury. He obviously hasn't been playing the best football this season, but last week against the Chicago Bears, prior to that hamstring injury, he was having his best game of the season. Now he's ruled out for this Packers game. Bobby Okereke is questionable with a shoulder injury. Raheem Nunez-Roches is doubtful with a toe injury. And Tyler Nubin is doubtful with a neck injury. Somehow, some way, Evan Neal has gotten himself injured despite not playing in a single game this season. He is out with a hamstring injury. I don't know how that happened. I would love to know how that happened. But Evan Neal, out with a hamstring injury. Maybe he injured himself grabbing water for the boys on the sideline. I'm at a loss for words with that one. Paulson Adebo is also questionable for this game with his knee injury that has kept him out for the last couple of weeks. Good chance he does return this weekend, though. Daniel Bellinger was a limited participant with a groin injury earlier in the week. He has an unspecified game status, but the expectation is that he will play, as will John Michael Schmitz coming back to the lineup, and Jermaine Illuminor is expected to play. So Giants are getting a couple reinforcements there, but a lot of starters out of the lineup this week due to injuries. It's going to be a tough game. The Green Bay Packers, while I don't think they're world beaters, they do have a world-beating defense, and that's why I'm excited to talk about Jeff Hafley. But just looking at it from a game preview perspective, the Giants here are going to be going up against a Packers team that's 5-3-1, slipping a little bit and falling behind in their division. Had a tough loss last Monday night to the Philadelphia Eagles. And really what the problem is for them is that offense is banged up and it's not moving well. There are rumors that Matt LaFleur, of course, the head coach of the Green Bay Packers, could be on the hot seat now. This team has underwhelmed and failed to live up to expectations for a few seasons now, and that seems to be what's happening again this season. Hot start, beat the Lions in week 1. Since then, it's kind of been tough sledding. They've had a weird and difficult schedule, though, too. They haven't played at home much this season, but even when they have lost a couple of those games. So just being 5-3-1, not good enough for Green Bay, but their defense really is one of the best in the NFL. They have a lot of talent, and Jeff Hafley calls some good games. So the last point on that Packers offense, though, that I will mention, they're also really banged up this week, especially on the offensive line. They have a few injuries, including guard Zach Tom. I believe that their offensive tackle is already out for significant amount of time. This should be a game where Brian Burns and Dexter Lawrence feast. That's what we need to see. I would add Kayvon Thibodeaux, but he's out. Abdul Carter as well. I would love to see him get busy, but really this needs to be a Brian Burns masterclass, and I have a good feeling that it will be considering the matchup and considering Mike Kafka did say he's making adjustments to the defense this week with Shane Bowen, and hopefully that yields a little bit more pass rushing productivity from our defensive linemen that are so talented. So what else are we seeing in this game? It's an audition for two people. It's an audition from interim head coach Mike Kafka to ownership and management, and it's an audition on the other sideline from Jeff Hafley to the Giants ownership and management. Let's start with Kafka, then we will dive into the meat of this episode with Jeff Hafley. Mike Kafka here has a chance to play spoiler, play underdog, be the upset winner in this game because everybody's going to be picking the Green Bay Packers. They are a better football team. The New York Giants, when they have been competitive this season, it's been because Jackson Dart is playing lights out football. Jackson Dart's out of this game. Jameis Winston is getting the start over Russell Wilson. Let's see how that unfolds. But if Mike Kafka can step in on his first game as the interim head coach and lead the Jameis Winston quarterbacked offense to a win, if this defense can hold on to a lead, if this defense can be aggressive, get some sacks, if this team looks a lot different this week and Mike Kafka is the big alteration that they made, that's going to do him plenty of favors when he does try and interview for this head coaching job. Now, I've tried to tell everybody keep an open mind for Mike Kafka. He's one of the top head coaching candidates each of the last 3 off seasons he has been. He's a hot name, and the Giants know this. That's why they fired Dable early so they could get an extended look here at Mike Kafka. And now Kafka's got a big opportunity to be an underdog team at home against the Packers. If he can beat what is expected to be one of the top defenses that the Giants will face all season long with his really good offensive coaching, he might jump Jeff Hafley in the potential race to be the New York Giants head coach. Now, this could also go a different way. The Giants offense gets completely thwarted, and Jeff Hafley puts on a masterclass in front of his hometown fans. Now, that's where I'm going to transition and talk about Jeff Hafley. Jeff Hafley is a New Jersey native, which might not mean a lot to fans, might mean a lot to some fans, definitely means a lot to the New York Giants organization. They love guys who are familiar with the area, who grew up in the area, who know how the fans behave, who know how the media behaves. Jeff Hafley understands all of that, being that he grew up going to New York Giants games. He bought tickets for 30 family members and friends for this upcoming game because he's so excited to be coaching in MetLife Stadium / Giants Stadium, where he grew up going to football games and watching NFL games as a Giants fan. Again, that means a lot to the New York Giants organization. The fact that this is his opportunity to audition to the Giants and he's got all of his friends and family there, that should mean a lot to them too. But also, more importantly, the fact that he mentioned this in a press conference and then they tried to ask him more questions about it. And he said, the only thing that I'm focused on right now is beating the New York Giants. They said, hey, you know that the Giants have a head coaching vacancy. Are you trying to audition for this? He said, I've heard about this. My family's heard about this. I'm not focused on it, even if they are. I am focused on beating the New York Giants, which is an exact answer that you want to hear from a coordinator. It's the exact answer that you would want to hear from a head coach. It's what the New York Giants definitely want to hear from Jeff Hafley, and it's what he said in the media leading up to this game. So I think that's notable. I think that's important to kind of observe, and it's also important to observe all of the other instances in which Jeff Hafley has taken command of press conferences. He has a presence at the microphone. He speaks like a head coach, and that's because he is a former head coach. And that's where I'll transition into his career history. Now, Jeff Hafley, prior to this stint right now as the defensive coordinator of the Green Bay Packers, was the head coach from 2020 to 2023 at Boston College. He led the Eagles to a 22-26 record. He had 3 bowl game invitations, but they only played in one of those 3 bowl games, which they did win. So an overall 22-26 record at the NCAA level as a head coach. Not exactly the greatest statistics, but still Boston College, not the greatest program in the world. And he did a fine enough job there to lead them to a close to 500 record. Then again, he jumped back into the NFL, and since then, he's been among the top defensive coordinators in the league since last season. So you're talking about a guy who has experience being a CEO of a team, even if it was a collegiate team. You could argue that there's a lot on the plate of a collegiate head coach, maybe even in comparison to an NFL head coach, considering they have to deal with alumni, they have to deal with the full program, and they have to deal with the recruitment trail. There's a lot that goes into being the head coach of a collegiate team, as well as, of course, being an NFL head coach. But having that experience, being the number one guy to answer to, being the number one guy to command the room, I think that's valuable for Jeff Hafley, even if it's not at the NFL level. Being a former collegiate head coach, a very valuable trait, a very valuable experience that he has and can present while he tries to pitch himself for head coaching jobs this offseason. Also, some interesting details on his career previously before he was at Boston College. In 2019, he was the co-defensive coordinator and defensive backs coach for Ohio State. He did a great job there, but one of the things that he did best was recruitment. So he was established as one of the best recruiters in the country, ranked ninth overall for the 2020 class by 247sports.com. That's really impressive, and that's really important because that tells me that Jeff Hafley has no problem connecting with young players, has no problem connecting with players in general, and can lead programs. He can be a leader. He has an eye for talent. He can bring talent in and attract players to join him and play under his program. That's really important for the New York Giants. It's also important when you think about this upcoming NFL draft. It's going to be a crucial one. Giants need to add some talent around Jackson Dart. One of them being Ohio State wide receiver Carnell Tate could be a top option for them. This could be one of the Ohio State recruiters that helps bring Carnell Tate to the New York Giants. That's a very interesting connection to me if you're thinking 10 steps ahead, but also just generally speaking, I want a head coach who can recruit people, who can attract people into his program and bring them in. And I think that he does that really well, as evidenced by his stint in 2019 with the Ohio State Buckeyes. Now, he also just has a generally very long coaching history. He is a younger guy at only 46 years old. That's true. And when you're looking at that, he would be one of the younger head coaches in the NFL in some respects. There's a lot of 50, 60, 70-year-old guys coaching nowadays, but that doesn't mean that he's short on any type of experience. He has been coaching since 2001. He started at WPI as a running backs coach, went to Albany for the 2002 to 2005 season, was at Pittsburgh from 2006 to 2010, was at Rutgers for a year. Then he started coaching at the NFL level with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in 2012 as an assistant defensive backs coach, got the promotion to full-time defensive backs coach in 2013. Then he was a DBs coach 2014-15 with the Browns, 2016 to 2018 with the San Francisco 49ers, technically putting him under that Kyle Shanahan tree if you think that's important, and Ohio State 2019, like I mentioned. Then got the head coaching job at Boston College, was there for 4 years, now with the Green Bay Packers as one of the top defensive coordinators in the NFL. So there's a full rundown of his entire coaching history, which is significant. And I do think that's notable to understand that this is a guy who's had his hands in a lot of different successful programs, has led a program, has been a top assistant in programs, and is now a top coordinator in the NFL. I think that's really something to take note of. And so I like Jeff Hafley. The Green Bay Packers defense this season ranks top 7 in rush defense, top 7 in points allowed, and top 7 in total yards surrendered per game. Now, the one drawback, though, for Jeff Hafley, the one knock on his resume so far this season, there's been a significant lack of turnovers forced. The Green Bay Packers defense only has 6 takeaways. That's tied with the New York Giants and I believe the Tampa Bay Buccaneers for the second fewest in the NFL. So he's really not getting the turnovers. I know a lot of fans like to think back to the Wink Martindale days. They really liked Wink Martindale. Martindale was great for the Giants because he forced a bunch of turnovers, got beat a lot on, high leverage situations with blitzes, but he forced a lot of turnovers. Jeff Hafley hasn't been forcing a lot of turnovers in this defense so far this season. Now, that could change this upcoming week. Jameis Winston could throw 4 picks, and all of a sudden, last year, though, under Jeff Hafley, the Packers did force a bunch of turnovers. Notably, Xavier McKinney was unlocked, had his best season, and led the NFL in interceptions. So, this could just be a one-season thing, could be a schematic thing, but there's just a lot to like with Jeff Hafley. He's coached some of the top talents. He's coaching Micah Parsons right now. Parsons is playing great football, and he's really aggressive. His pass rushers are getting home. He's turned Parsons loose. Parsons has gotten after the quarterback at a frequent rate this season. He's done a great job this year, Jeff Hafley, with that defense. He's gotten the most out of a defensive backs group that's been kind of shredded by injuries and had a lot of moving parts and pieces. And then, of course, on that defensive line, they came to play this season. So I really like Jeff Hafley. I think that he is one of the top candidates when you really look at his career history, the amount of experience that he has. I think it's a huge pro that he is a former head coach, even at the collegiate level. And I think it's awesome to note that this isn't one of those guys who's just here, who would just be hired in order to prop up one individual player. This isn't about bringing in a whiz kid who can help coach Jackson Dart. This is a guy who has overseen an entire program, can be a CEO type, and can coach the entire football team, which is crucial. And knowing that he's coming from this Green Bay Packers tree with Matt LaFleur, he's got connections from the LaFleur-Shanahan tree, the McVay tree. I think it's LaFleur comes from the McVay tree, I believe, not Shanahan. But he's got those connections. He shouldn't have a tough time finding a really good offensive coordinator who can develop, of course, Jackson Dart. or that still leaves it open if Jeff Hafley gets this head coaching job, that could leave the door open for Mike Kafka to be retained in the offensive coordinator role and assistant head coaching roles. So many different ways that could shake out. But at the end of the day, I like Jeff Hafley. He's definitely one of the top candidates right now for the New York Giants head coaching position. But let's see how he does on Sunday. Does he completely shut down Mike Kafka, or does Mike Kafka find a way to put up 20, 30 points? Then that might change the narrative a little bit around Jeff Hafley. But overall, I think his body of work, his entire career has been super impressive. I love the experience that he has. Again, I can't stress enough how valuable I think it is that he was a former head coach at Boston College, overseeing a program, leading an entire team. That's a very important experience. And I think that is applicable to trying to be a head coach at the NFL level as well as the fact that he is just a great defensive coordinator, one of the best in the NFL. He gets a lot out of his units, and I think he's a really smart schematics coordinator too, and a great leader. So a lot to like with Jeff Hafley, guys, but let me know what you think about him down below in the comment section. Do make sure to leave a like if you enjoyed, subscribe to the channel if you're new, and ring bells so you don't miss an episode, and comment your thoughts down below in the comment section. If you listen to Apple or Spotify, make sure to leave us a 5-star review, and go ahead and follow us on all our social media channels at Fireside Giants. Without further ado, I'll catch you on the next one. Have a good one, and let's go New York Giants.